What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
UFC Fight Night, Hermansson versus Cannonier, as I like to call Cannonier, Jared Cannonier, happened this past Saturday from Copenhagen, Denmark. That was the headlining fight. The whole card in general, not really any fights specifically, not any huge fights. I think it was a big fight for Jared Cannonier, who beat Jack Hermansson pretty dominantly. Cannonier's been on a run, man. I remember when he first... Listen, I used to do the podcast with Keith Spurlock. We would review fights, very similar to this, make picks, all that kind of stuff. So I remember when Cannonier started in the UFC as a heavyweight, and he's been on a journey, slowly going down to middleweight, and now been on a run, I think. Let's see how many fights Cannonier is on a run here. So 3-fight win streak in... Is that all middleweight? Yeah, middleweight debut. He debuted against David Branch and then fought Anderson Silva. Now, granted, David Branch didn't really look good in UFC. He just got popped for steroids, some kind of PED anyway. So he's gone for 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. But didn't really look very impressive necessarily. He should have finished Rockhold in that fight. Ridiculous that he didn't beat Rockhold when everybody's beating Rockhold. So he beat David Branch in his debut, then Anderson Silva, who's clearly on the downside of his career, but it was still a dominant performance. I mean, not a lot of people have dominant performances against Anderson Silva. I mean, even compared to Adesanya, who's fighting next week, which was a good fight with Silva, but it wasn't a dominant win. Especially to leg kicks. I mean, I guess Anderson Silva's lost to leg kicks before, but anyway. So this was definitely his biggest step up, I would say. Jack Hermansson, another guy that's been on a run in the middleweight division, which is, never a thinned out division. Yeah, he's beat Souza, David Branch also, Mershart, Taos Leites. So he's been on a run. So it was a big win for Cannonier in the main event. Good fights, though, overall, even though there weren't a lot of big names, a lot of big matchups necessarily. It was good fights. Gunnar Nelson versus Gilbert Burns was a competitive, fun fight. See, Mark Madsen, who I think is the Olympian, I believe. Super quick knockout. I don't even think we got to see. He's like an Olympic wrestler or something like that. In Kutalaba versus Khalil Roundtree. Roundtree, another guy that's looked good, but I mean, Kutalaba is he's never out of it. That was a crazy fight. OSP gets another Von Flue choke. And he sets it up. He was not looking good. OSP was losing that fight against a guy that looks tiny compared to OSP. Let's see, who is the guy? Michael Olianchik? I don't know. Everybody's name sucks. I just suck at saying everybody's names. But he looked tiny compared to OSP, but was lighting him up on the feet in the first round. OSP was able to get the takedown in the second round and do his go-to, which is insane that he keeps getting people in that choke. Although nobody else is doing it. I just don't think anybody even sees it coming. Although if you're training for OSP, for sure don't get caught in a Von Flue choke, right? Like if you're fighting Ronda Rousey, make sure to avoid the armbar. Nicholas Dalby looked great against Cowboy Oliveira. Great fight for him. Oliveira's no slouch, so good win for him. Even the prelim cards were fun. McDessie, let's see here. Brandon Davis versus Giga. That was ridiculous. Giga should have won that. What was that other fight? There was another fight that was, there was a couple good fights on that early prelims that I am just blanking. Oh, the Venata fight versus Diakesi. Two exciting fighters, but kind of hit skids. Duquessis, I think this is 2 wins in a row for him. Venata, man, he was like, his best performance was that late replacement for Tony Ferguson, where he almost beat Ferguson. Like, Venata used to have a problem where he would just stop fighting any defense after the first round. Like, he would look super dominant in the fight, and then he would just let the other person just tee off on his face, and then he would end up losing. So he's fighting more cautiously, but, I mean, it was a crazy matchup, too. Anyway, it was a fun fight, fun card overall. But next week's card, UFC pay-per-view 243 from Melbourne, Australia, headlined by Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya. Whittaker has been out, got injured in his last matchup. He was supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum, which would have been a crazy fight. So Adesanya fought Gastelum for the interim belt. So this is a unification fight. Adesanya's looked great. Didn't have the most... I mean, he wasn't able to finish Anderson Silva, which he probably should have, but he's looked great in all of his other fights. Really fun striker. Definitely showed his heart in the Gastelum fight. But both of these guys can survive wars, assuming Whittaker doesn't, like, his body doesn't fall apart right before the fight. But I'm looking forward to that's going to be crazy. Whittaker, Bobby Knuckles, man. Both of these guys are small for the weight class too. Like, even Gastelum, like, all of these guys are like super small for the weight class, and they're doing great. And it's kind of crazy how the weight division at middleweight has evolved. I don't know who I'd pick. I wouldn't bet on that one, but it's going to be a crazy fight. Ally Quinta versus Dan Hooker, man. I want Ally Quinta to win, but I wouldn't be mad if Dan Hooker wins. It's just kind of just a crazy. It's going to be a crazy card because Aussies, they're exciting to watch. There's a lot of them that have kind of been in the sport a long time. Taito Ivasa is fighting. Diego Lima. There's Jake Matthews, Megan Anderson. Who else? Oh, I'm surprised I'm not seeing the old man. Maybe he retired. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy... There's only 4 fights on the pay-per-view. That's ridiculous. Did something fall out? Champion Holly... Oh, the Holly Holm fight fell out. Oh! That would have been a great second fight. I hope they replace it with something. I'm surprised they didn't bump something up. I mean, it's a pay-per-view. You're paying for it. Man. But the fight between Robert Whittaker, I mean, both these guys, great styles, right? Robert Whittaker, I would say more fundamental. I don't know. They don't have the same style necessarily, but they're both pressure fighters. Actually, Adesanya is, I would say, maybe a little bit more of a counter striker. I don't know. So good. It's just... Adesanya has a little bit more flash to his stand-up versus Whittaker. I mean, a lot of the front leg kicks, kind of that kick that John Jones throws. At least that's what he was doing against what's his face, Yoel Romero. That was crazy. I mean, Robert Whittaker he's a tank in the cage, and so is Adesanya. Take a punch. I mean, Adesanya went to a war with Gastelum, and Gastelum, like, destroys people. Yeah. Ally Quinta, same thing. Ally Quinta, Dan Hooker. Just those 2 fights. Taito Ivasa always brings it. I'm sure it'll be good. We'll see. He's not... I think he lost his last fight. But the Ally Quinta fight's going to be good, too, against Dan Hooker. I mean, it's just going to be a fun card. I'm looking forward to it for sure. Watch the full thing, top to bottom. It's going to be great. They don't go to Australia much, and it's going to be one of the biggest cards ever, I think. I think they're trying to break records with it. Wouldn't be surprised if it did, although missing out on that fight with Holly Holm and Pennington is a bummer. But that's it for this episode. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out daily. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Go buy my artwork over at inspireddisorder.com and save 25% when you use coupon code RTS. Follow me on social media at Ray Taylor. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!